So what do you think, what is the way for reconciliation of the society on the short run today, when there is a lot of anxiety and where there is a lot of rage, and on the long run, of course?
I come from Paris to Kyiv, and tonight we are having, with parliamentarians, a friendly discussion about reconciliation, precisely. What is inspiring for me, and I hope it can be inspiring for Ukraine, people in Donbass, eventually for Ukrainians and Russians, is that after centuries of war, after two horrific world wars, led by politicians, many of whom happen to be convinced Christians, Germany and France buried the hatchet. They decided to reconcile. In 1962 in Reims, where during World War I, the ancient medieval cathedral was severely damaged by Germans, in France, General de Gaulle and the Chancellor of Germany, Adenauer, met for a religious service marking the reconciliation. I was already born then. In my lifetime, the history of German and French war, hatred, became an academic subject. In other words, young people in Germany and France don't feel it. They learn about it in school. Eventually, a few years later, an important reconciliation began between Germany and Poland. Again, headed by religious leaders, especially the bishops of Poland, who wrote in a very bold letter, "We forgive and ask forgiveness." The communist authorities of Poland said, forgiveness for what? The church is not patriotic. But these steps led to maybe even a more difficult reconciliation, because the French and Germans considered each other socially on equal level. Historically, the Germans had looked down upon the Poles and the Slavs. The next step that was made, in your memory already, is the reconciliation of Poles and Ukrainians. I grew up at a time and in an atmosphere where the resentment between Ukrainians and Poles was very raw. Because twice, from the Ukrainian point of view, twice in the 20th century, Poles got in the way of Ukrainian independence, at the time of World War I and at the time of World War II. On the other hand, Poles saw that Ukrainians had conducted murderous activity against the Poles. Ukrainians accused the Poles of the same. Today, Poland is the strongest advocate of Ukraine in the international community. These are almost impossible things. I believe that reconciliation in Donbass, and eventually reconciliation with Russia, is possible, but it's very difficult.
But what are the ways? What are the first steps at this particular political environment?
The first steps are steps like I think we will take tonight with parliamentarians, not before the cameras, and maybe I speak about it too soon on television. But to say, listen, we're going to have to face this issue. In 1942, Robert Schuman, the future Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of France, began speaking about the future post-war French-German relationship. In 1942, in the middle of the war, when it was still not clear how things would develop, the first step to make is to realize that, Donbass will not move to Texas. Russia will not split off with Antarctica and become a separate continent from Ukraine. We are, so to speak, condemned to seek reconciliation. It will require soul searching. It will require an examination of conscience. Here, the example of Germany, I think, will be very important. I think Russians will have to face up to the question of this aggression and why they supported their leader in this aggression. I don't think that, I know that for a fact. Otherwise, reconciliation will be impossible. And we need to look and find those people who can speak the truth, who can recognize the truth, and find ways of communicating it to others.